Welcome back to another video. In this one we're going over a new patch coming to SMITE, and that is Sand and Skies. Now this is going to be a pretty huge patch. I'll just kind of scroll through real quick and show you everything. Main reason for that is there is 2 new gods this patch. Yes, 2. And they kind of go hand in hand, like not a lot, but their passives work together in a way. So we'll go over that. The first one is Horus, new Egyptian god, the rightful heir. I believe this is the warrior. So his passive is called a Resolute, and each time he is damaged by an enemy god, he gains a stack of Resolute. If Set, and Set is the other god. I guess we'll go over him real quick. So there's Set, which is an assassin, and then there is Horus, which is a warrior. So their passives go hand in hand together, and we'll just get those out of the way right now. So each time Horus is damaged by an enemy god, he gains a stack. If Set is the god that's damaging him, he gains 2 stacks instead. Each stack increases his protections and cooldown, CCR. Resolute stacks to a max count of 10 for 3 seconds. When when Resolute fades, he is healed based on the amount of stacks. So he gets 1.5 protections per stack. His CCR is reduced by 1.5% per stack, and then once all of his stacks are consumed, he's going to get healed 2 for each stack, plus 0.75 per level. So really cool passive. And then Set's passive, we'll just kind of get that out of the way since it's similar. Each time Set damages an enemy, he gains a stack of Relentless. If Horus is the enemy that he's damaging, he gains 2 stacks. So they kind of, basically, if he's attacking Horus, Horus is going to get 2 stacks. But if he's attacking Horus, he's also getting 2 stacks. So that's the only reason I think they wanted to release them together. I'm not really quite sure. Each stack increases Set's attack speed. Relentless stacks to a max of 10 for 3 seconds. While Kingslayer is active, Relentless has no maximum amount of stack, and Kingslayer is his ultimate. So each stack gives you 2.5%. Now we'll stop with Set for now, and then we'll go back to Horus. Since passes went hand in hand, I felt like it was important to go over them at the same time. So Horus's first ability is called Updraft. He's going to use his wings to create an updraft around himself, knocking nearby enemies into the air. Using currents from the updraft, his next basic attack within 5 seconds will create a gust of wind that travels forward, damaging enemies and slowing them for 2.5 seconds. Enemies that are knocked up when hit take bonus damage. So the first part of this ability, which is the knockup, you need to be almost in melee range. It is a very, very small radius. It's going to do some damage, 50 to 230 plus 60%, and knock them in the air. Now, after you use this ability, you're going to have another ability for 5 seconds. It acts as like a basic attack, but it's going to be ranged, and it almost is like a line. It's basically just a line damage. It's called your Gust attack. Now, if you hit that Gust attack, it's going to do 14 to 50 damage plus 100%. So less base damage, more percentage. Or sorry, that's of your basic attack damage, not of your physical power. So 100% of your basic attack damage. And the Gust bonus damage is going to be 1.5 times if they're in the air. Now, enemies knocked up in the air take bonus damage. That's any enemy. So if a Wheelix knocks someone up with Suku and you use your Gust, it's going to do 1.5 damage. Now, it also is going to slow for 25%, but that's only if they are on the ground. So if you use your Updraft, knock them in the air, and then Gust, while they're in the air, it's not going to apply the slow. The slow is only applied once they're on the ground, so you kind of need to use it strategically. Do you want to waste your Gust right away to get some bonus damage, or do you want to wait until they're on the ground so you can slow them and kind of peel out there? It's going to cost 55 to 75 mana, and it's going to have an 18-second cooldown that goes down to 14 seconds each time you rank it. Second ability is called Fracture. So Horus dashes forward for a short distance, ready to strike with his weapon. If he hits a god, he stops and stuns them for 1.25 seconds. He will then wind up a heavy cleave. Enemies hit have their protections reduced for 3 seconds. So this is kind of a 2-part ability. First one is just a dash. If you can just dash forward and escape if you want to use this as a getaway, but if you don't hit an enemy, that's all it is. It's just a dash. The dash damage is going to be 70 to 170 plus 30% of your physical power. Now, if you hit an enemy god, like it says, it's going to stun them, and then it's going to automatically cleave. So you stun, and then it's going to go into the cleave animation, but you can turn during this animation. So let's say you hit a god right here, and you want to turn all the way around to hit the god behind you with the cleave. You can. You just got to be quick with it. The cleave damage is going to be 60 to 190 plus 50% of your physical power, so that is the more damaging version of it. And the protection shred is going to be 10 to 30 depending on the rank. It's going to cost 55 mana to 75 mana with a 16-second cooldown. And then his third ability is called Protector's Surge. This is another movement ability. So he has a lot of mobility in this kit. Really, all of his abilities except for his one are technically movement abilities. So Protector's Surge, Horus rushes to the aid of an ally. After selecting an ally, Horus will fly to their location before descending. Upon landing, the selected ally and nearby allies have their health restored and gain protections for 3 seconds. You can also use this to go onto minions. So if you're in solo lane with him, you can still use this ability. Don't worry about that. It's going to heal for 50 to 250 plus 10% of your physical power and give you a 10 to 30 protection buff. It's going to cost 65 mana and has a 16-second cooldown. And then his ultimate is called To the Skies. He's going to send a mirror image of himself into the sky that scouts a location to fly to. Upon selecting your location, he will begin to channel for 2 seconds. Any ally near Horus after these 2 seconds are flown to the location of his image's choice. So I'm going to explain this in kind of a dumbed down fashion. Think of Thor's ultimate. He flies into the air, selects a spot, he comes down. That's essentially what Horus does, except you can be damaged while you're in the air. Because he doesn't fly up himself, he sends up an image of himself. So you're in those air for those 2 seconds, people can be on the ground damaging you and kill you. So you don't want to use this during combat, because that's just a death sentence. This is a strategic ultimate. Now, whenever you select your location, let's say you ult in solo lane and you want to get all the way over to mid lane, if that even goes that far, I'm not sure. Let's say there's a jungler with you on solo lane, and he's like, hey, I want to come with you. During your wind-up, after you select the spot to go to, there's going to be a wind-up time. It's like 2 seconds, and you can see the location on the ground getting bigger. Your ally can walk where you're at. There will be a little circle indicator around you. He can walk there, and then he will teleport with you to the location. So will pets. So if Tusky's there, if Scotty and Calder are there, they will all go with you. They just have to be in that circle, you know, when you fly. Now, your teammate, if he wants to, can absolutely troll you and then decide to go into the enemy fountain. That's why you need to look and see where they select to fly to before you decide to travel with them. So ultimate, a little confusing. It makes a lot more sense when you see it in action, but the stats that come with it, it's going to do 150 to 550 damage upon landing, plus 80% of your physical power. It's also going to give you a shield for 160 to 480, costs 100 mana, and has a 100-second cooldown. Let's finish reading this here, because I think I skipped over some stuff. So Horus and his allies land with such force, enemies take damage and are knocked away from the landing location. So there is a little knockback. Horus and his allies gain a protective shield. So that shield goes to you and your allies that are, I guess, within the area with you. So he is a warrior. He kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with Set. And speaking of Set, we're going to go ahead and get into him right now. So I already went over his passive. I'm not going to get into too much detail. Just basically every time you deal damage, you get a stack, and that stack gives you attack speed. He is an assassin, so I kind of feel like, based on his kit, he's almost a hybrid. You definitely benefit from the attack speed with his ultimate and his passive combination, but you definitely benefit from the damage ability just based on his kit. So I think he could be a hybrid. I'm really excited to kind of maybe mess with some builds to see what works best, but his first ability is called Skewer. This is basically just a generic lane clear, line damage type thing. So he amasses his hatred, throwing it forward and damaging enemies caught in his path. Actually, you know what? For the sake of his kit, I'm going to start with his 2, because it all revolves around his 2. His 2 is called Spawn of Set. He conjures a spawn of himself made of sand. These spawns will stand where they are summoned and attack nearby enemies. So if there's an Odin and you decide to spawn it right next to the Odin, it will attack the Odin. However, if it's not in melee range, it won't. It will not move, it'll only attack if there's something next to it. He can have up to 2 charges of this ability, so you can place one and then place another right away. Allowing him to conjure spawns in quick succession, Set can interact with these spawns with his other abilities, commanding them to attack or teleporting to them. Set can only have 8 spawns at any given time. So each spawn is going to do 20 damage plus 25% of your physical power each time that it attacks. Its attack range is 12 feet. It's going to last for 8 seconds, all the way up to 12, depending on what rank it is. It costs 30, and it's going to have a cooldown of 13 seconds to 11 seconds. So that is kind of your basic ability to, combo around. So your first ability is called Skewer. Like I said, you throw it forward, damaging enemies caught in its path. Set's spawns are commanded when Set fires his attack, dashing towards a location Set determines. Enemies hit by either Skewer or Spawn's dash take damage and are slowed for 3 seconds. Any dash after the first will deal 40% damage. So essentially how this works is, let's say you have an Odin bot an Odin right in the middle. You spawn Set on either side of him, and you get out your Skewer and you go to skewer him. There's going to be a little indicator in the middle of your Skewer. So basically all of your spawns that are out will go through this one spot. It is so hard to explain, guys. I apologize for this, but basically your sets follow your location. So you can combo your Skewer and your Set to get 3 damages off. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on how many spawns are actually out. So your 2-1 is kind of the go-to combo, essentially. Now, when I do a first look guide at Set later on tonight, you'll be able to actually see what I'm talking about. So be on the lookout for that if you kind of want a little more clarification, because this is a really confusing kit to kind of explain without any images. His third ability is called Sandstorm. He conjures a sandstorm around him, protecting him from physical damage and causing him to be immune to slows. Enemies near Set are damaged every 0.4 seconds for 6 seconds and have their vision obscured by the sand. If he is targeting a spawn when this ability is cast, he will immediately teleport to the spawn. So you can throw out a spawn and then target it and hit Sandstorm to teleport to the spawn and activate Sandstorm at the same time. So your spawns can be used to either just attack by themselves, combo with your 1, or teleport with your 3. So that's why I wanted to get that out of the way first. If Set is targeting a spawn, okay, immediately teleport to the spawn. Otherwise, he can reactivate this ability to teleport. Set can only teleport once per Sandstorm. So you can still teleport if you want by reactivating it, but having this set out will make it easier. It's going to do 8 to 24 damage each tick, plus 7% of your physical power. It's going to have 15% physical damage reduction, have a 65 teleport range. It's going to cost 50 to 70 mana, and have a 16-second cooldown. Finally, his ultimate, Kingslayer. I guess I'll just read it first. Set enrages, channeling his rage towards his enemies. Each time he damages a god, they gain a mark of Set. At 4 marks, the target erupts. Enemies take a burst of damage while Set becomes empowered, restoring health and immediately gaining a charge of spawn of Set. Excess charges are immediately consumed, causing a spawn to appear near Set. So basically, the goal is whenever you hit your ultimate, you want to be in combat just throwing down everything. Basics, Sandstorm, your 1, your 2, everything. Because let's say there's an Odin bot and you hit him 1, 2, 3, 4 times. On that 4th time, it's going to explode, dealing damage, 20 to 85 plus 25%, and it's going to spawn a Set next to you. So if you're damaging 5 enemies and you're hitting them in groups, you are spawning Set after Set after Set after Set, which allows you to then spawn more Sets with your actual 2 and then use it to combo with your Skewer. So essentially your ultimate is just a steroid to make you spawn more minions of yourself. That's in general what it does. So it's going to do, like I said, the damage right there. It's going to heal 30 to 90 plus 20% of your physical power, last for 12 seconds, cost 80 to 100 mana, and has a 90-second cooldown. I don't feel like it did that great of an explanation with these, but they are kind of a confusing kit. All of their kits and abilities are very, very unique, so it'll be a lot easier to actually explain once we're in-game during the PTS. Alright, so next we have the new god skins coming to this patch. First one is Helheim, Uller?
In life and in death, there is no greater calling than that of the warrior.
Another Chuck skin, but I mean, it's cool. I'm always biased towards these type of skins. We have a Fabled Artio.
Trust me, you need to be protected from me.
This looks very, very, very familiar. Is this based off of something? It has to be, because this hood and like her eyes and her hair, something about that. Maybe I'm just thinking a Little Red Riding Hood. I don't know. Illuminator Baron Samedi. This is cool. I thought this was... Honestly, that almost looks like Thoth more than Baron Samedi.
In all things, I see inspiration. Conflict and strife are no exception.
Really cool skin. Really, really different. I don't even see any elements of Baron Samedi to the skin just on the player card, which is awesome because that's what makes a skin good. Gladiator Thor. Don't we already have one like this? for Thor? Like Brimstone. I think Brimstone is a lot like this or something.
No one has ever defeated me in battle, and it will stay that way.
How has there not been a Gladiator Thor already? That just seems like common sense. Marrow Eater Fenrir.
Come with me to the spirit world.
So I think this is part of the, Bakasura has one of these skins, Opwash has one of these skins, kind of like that Soul Eater type of theme. And then we have a Blinky Chibi Giannis. This is the best Chibi skin, in my opinion, so far. That is amazing.
You cannot just call on me to use my portals and thresholds. I am more important than just that. Jeez!
He still sounds like an old man, too, just in Chibi form. And then we have Pop Punk Hell.
So you like rock and roll? Well, you've come to the right place.
Gross. Rock and roll?
So I guess she's going to be the rock star, and then her alter ego is more of a pop star. Oh yeah, pop punk, duh. Update release schedule. So April 30th, Horus and Set will be released with the Battle for Olympus #1. Second week of May, we have the Fairy Tale Chest. The third week will be Battle for Olympus #2, and then the fourth week we have the Chibi Bonanza Chest. And then on May 24th, we have a new free Twitch Prime loot. So I guess that's like kind of all the skins, because there's Twitch Prime, Battle for Olympus 2, Olympus 2. So yeah, all this will be kind of released throughout the month of May, essentially. And they are subject to change. So bug fixes, I'm not going to go ahead and go over these in much detail. If you want to pause them and read them, you definitely can. I don't ever go over bug fixes really because, you know, what's the point? They're no longer in the game. Project Olympus, roll queue, priorities points no longer reset when you relog, ranked and normal conquest no longer share the same pool of priority points. Ranked matchmaking gains and loses now properly display on the end of match lobby. Co-op versus AI, more behaviors and AI improvements have been added to SMITE's bots. Very nice. This is something I've been asking for a long time, because like if you go into any practice mode, the bots are stupid. They never go in the jungle. They just run straight. They run past the minions and just go for you. You can't get any practice from it, basically. Paladins, you can. Smite, you can't. Fixed behavior around towers. So fixed an issue where bots thought ally towers were enemy towers. That explains it all. Fixed an issue that ranged gods would not attack enemies near towers even if in range. Prioritize attacking enemy towers if in range versus gods and minions. Decrease instances in where bots will thrash, appear to stand still, or jitter because they can't decide on what to do. That happens a lot. You'll see them like running back and forth between minions. Bots will occasionally attack jungle camps. There we go. Okay. So known issues where they sometimes won't pick up the buff. I'm excited for this. I don't think it's going to do a whole lot, and it's not that many people even play practice, really, just unless you're trying out a new god or anything, but I think it'll help improve for the new players to Smite. Xing Chen, his hook slam. Ooh, we got a lot. Whoa, okay, a lot of changes here. Good lord. Okay, so added a new effects to indicate the pre-fire of this ability. This gives players more indication as to when and where they will hit targets. Added a new FX to indicate the hit area of the cone part of this ability as well. This affects all skins. Decrease the height of the animation of this ability while keeping the timings the same. This should help clarify that Xing Chen is still in play. That Xing Chen is still in play space and hittable while at the apex of this ability. So his sky cutting axe. This ability now functions as a leap and not like a dash. This means that Xing Chen has immunity frames immediately after he leaves the ground during the leap until he reaches back to the ground. I thought it did always act as a leap. I'm not sure. I guess not. This also means that Xing Chen can now leap over walls with this ability. Okay, well that makes sense now because you couldn't do that before. Add new effects to clarify the hit area of this ability. Fixed occurrences of this ability would only get one charge. These are bug fixes here. Okay, so I'm not going to go over these too much. If you want to, you can. This should remove the likelihood where Xing Chen is unable to leap for a second time after being crowd controlled during this first ability fire. This should also remove the likelihood that returning to the start position or tweening to this end position in the middle of the leap. And then his Whirlwind of Rage and Steel clarified the tooltip regarding the number of hits for this ability. So this ability sometimes... Okay, so really not a lot of changes coming to Xing Chen, just a lot of bug fixes. That went around his leap and stuff like that. So, game modes, Assault. The new Assault map has brought a beautiful art set to Asgard, but we saw a lot of feedback about the new gameplay mechanics. It decreased the potion restoration from 15% instant health and mana down to 10%. Also increased the potion respawn time from 1 minute to 2 minutes. Down to the item changes, each of all increased the cost from 2450 to 2600. Rune Forged Hammer gets an increased cost from 2300 to 2400, and also gets a decreased physical power from 55 to 50. Blackthorn Hammer decreased the health from 450 to 350, and then Hastened Katana increased the cost from 2200 to 2300, and also decreased the attack speed from 25% down to 20%. So nerfs to Hastened Katana, actually nerfs all around, really. Yeah. For God Balances, Declaw on Bastet added a circle targeter element to the ability targeter to convey this ability's area of effect when it hits an enemy. I get it, I know what they're talking about, I just don't want to make this Bastet any more easy to play. I think you all know my disdain for her. Ganesh Turn of Fate, buff duration increased from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. Ohm now provides 20 to 60 magical protections as well as physical protections while channeling. And then remove obstacles damage increased from 75 to 255 is now 90 to 270. So buffs all the way around on 3 abilities for Ganesh, and I love it. One of my favorites. Hoi Sunbreaker is no longer rooted and can move in his camera freely while firing this ability. That just made it a lot more interesting. Izanami, Death Draws Death Draws Nigh, sorry. Decreased the threshold of missing health to gain a stack from 15% to 10%. This effect still caps at 20% physical pen, but Izanami reaches the cap at 50% HP now instead of 25%. Spectral Projection changed slow duration to be 3 seconds at all ranks. And then Fade Away, she has a lowered travel time from 0.6 to 0.5 seconds, and also removed the brief self-root at the end of this leap. Jormungandr increased the basic attack damage from 9.6 plus 0.64 per level is now 11.2 plus 0.96 per level, so that's a huge basic attack increase. Yorm's basic attack damage is being increased to help him focus on his one main strength as a good early game wave clearing pressure. His interaction between his abilities and venomous clouds is being adjusted to punish him less for proper combos. And finally, he's going to be allowed to refire his bellow if it becomes interrupted. So Venomous Hade's consuming clouds with this ability now lowers the cloud duration to 8 seconds instead of 5 seconds, and Consuming Bellow removed the damage mitigations while channeling this ability, and it no longer goes on cooldown if interrupted during the channel. King Arthur, Excalibur's Wrath, gets some major changes here. Increased the per slash damage. It used to be 10 to 50, is now 10 to 70. Increased the per slash true damage. It used to be 1.5%, is now 2%. The slash true damage now deals physical damage. And decreased the final hit damage, and AoE used to be 60 to 360, is now 50 to 290. The final hit and AoE true damage also deals physical damage now. And the overall damage goes from 120 to 660 plus 14 to 22% of true damage is now 110 to 700 plus 17 to 25. So it goes from 120 to 660 to 110 to 700. A little bit of buff there, and then the percentage goes from 14% to 22% is now 17 to 25. So more buffs there. Cool Khan, Zephyr added a circle targeter element to the ability to convey this ability. Okay, so it's the same thing as Bastet, allowing you to see the explosion damage at the end. Scylla, last one, added a circle targeter element to this ability, again to convey the area of effect to Sikkim. So Sikkim, Zephyr, and can't think of Bastet's. Declaw. So all 3 of those get kind of the same fix, and that is going to be it for this patch, guys. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like, hit subscribe for more content. I will link this down in the description if you want to read it yourself. And the PTS, I think, is out right now, so as soon as I upload this, I'm going to go work on the videos for PTS to get a first look at Horus, first look at Set, and then do all of the skins like I usually do. So that is it, guys, and thank you for watching.